Thank you very much for taking time to join our track 2 morning session. Just to introduce myself, I'm Satish Kunchakuri. I work for Google Research on fundamental computer science research, and I'm very glad to be the host for these two sessions, morning sessions. Without any further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker for this session, Yogesh Thanvi. So, a quick intro about Yogesh. Yogesh is a governance-focused technology professional and researcher specializing in quality assurance, digital trust, and operational resilience in cloud-native environments. His work explores how modern assurance practices using AI-driven testing, telemetry-informed quality engineering, and policy as code function as governance controls. He contributes to professional and academic discussions on risk-based testing and continuous delivery, drawing on SRE, SecOps, and governance frameworks. He's actively involved with ISA CA in advisory, review, and leadership roles, supporting digital trust and IT audit initiatives. He helps organizations align testing, automation, and release authority with accountability, audit availability, and risk appetite. With that, we move on to today's topic, which is AI-driven test automation as a governance control in modern digital enterprises. Yogesh, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I thank you for joining me today at TestFormation 2026. I'm excited to discuss a critical evolution happening in our field, one that's transforming the quality assurance from a technical execution function into a more strategic governance control. So, my presentation today is titled AI Driven Test Automation as a Governance Control in Modern Digital Enterprise. So, over the next 30 minutes, we'll explore how the role of QA has fundamentally changed in the age of continuous delivery and how AI is shaping but not replacing the human judgment, mainly on our decision making process and around software quality and risk controls. So, with that said, we'll move on to the discussing the agenda for the next 30 minutes. So, we'll go over mainly four areas: the evolution, AI's role, and governance framework, and then finally we land into the practical implementation of the proposal of how AI governance control and QA fit into the modern times of fast-paced software delivery environment. So back in the days, we would see long release cycle, more predictable phases, and then stages for catching bugs. And in today's continuous deployment in cloud native environments, we run a real risk of the faster we move the software to the production, the faster the potential of risk being exploited increases into the modern delivery system. And that combined with the global impact, uh, the QA role has become even more important as we speak. So the key shift has happened in a way that we just not as a QA engineer need to uh, perform the testing to completion, but at the same time the take is to make sure that we understand the risk involved in the changes, what is the impact to the customer, and how we mitigate it upfront in our uh, testing environment, which is always close to production but never like production for many obvious reasons. For example, the traffic of the production environment itself runs in petabytes these days, and getting that kind of traffic available inside the test environment is very difficult and very hard. So this is a place where risk controls, understanding the customer and wherein customers had come into play. So I'll go over a real example which not just me but people around the world see it on daily basis. So the modern software as a service platform has evolved now to start small but quickly scale up to a global scale. And then we have seen many applications in modern times where in very small burst of movements the company needs or has to go global. So one of the examples that I'm going to talk today is about a commercial environment where uh, me as a employee has faced that to deploy software on production environment. I came across a scenario where the testing was not quite looking all right. Did feel that there is something more than the flakiness of the test environment to the test cases. And the observational part was very hard to come up with evidences to justify that, hey, someone needs to pause this release to be deployed in production. If we deployed it, there is a potential harm to customer. We may end up doing a DDoS to our own platform, impacting customers. So in this example, the transactional side of things were global in nature. So the scenario was a very classic one where there's millions of lines of code. There is commercial pressure to deliver the software out to the production to meet the customer needs in timely manner. And then, as you would expect, the time to develop and time to test are always critical negotiating factors to deliver the software on time. And due to the nature of the QA testing, even though you have been involved with Scrum and Agile modern day delivery, there is always some end regression run cycles that come into play right at the last minute before approving the software to be deployed in production. And while running those testing, I did see anomalies, and there were certain time shifts that were reported. And as a QA, I had to take a governance decision. It's like, I need to bring this up. I need to share with all the leaders, provide evidence that I have, discuss it, and then just make sure that somebody in addition to me has seen it. And to my luck, a race condition was uncovered, which was of significant risk. And that scenario uh, formed pretty much a baseline to what I'm talking today, where how QA, when it works with the right governance authority inside the organization, can work for the stakeholders, which is the customer, in an appropriate way. And the lesson learned here is QA has the capability to, you know, prevent a potential harm to customer, and for obvious reasons. And the risk acceptance by default, we need to include QA with appropriate structure within the organization. So with that, what I really mean to say is, it's just that we don't need to see QA anymore as a mere delivery function to software development teams, but also work with right strategic governance control teams within the company while deploying the software as we proceed in the modern age of software deployment of continuous delivery. So why we'll discuss a little bit why traditional QA always falls short of, right? So it is a, even if we captured support of AI today to create test case development and execute them, the mathematical combinations are impossible to a certain extent. Like, I would say not impossible, but extremely hard in terms of the time that QA gets right from the day of software releases are logged to the time we need to deliver to the customer. And the other results, the other factors that contribute to the shortcomings are the false positives, um, the flakiness of the test environment, and then the metrics don't always express what QA coverage has been done and what risk is covered and what remains. So, to address all these functions, we need to make sure that to a certain level we always have QA involved with all the governance people and work tightly and cohesively to be able to provide a reasonable assurance that this software is not just tested in a high quality, but it is also providing reasonable assurance that we mitigate all the risk factors as we proceed. So now we'll move into our next agenda, which is AI's role in testing. So there are three practical AI capabilities that are highly beneficial uh, in QA environment as we speak. So QA empowers the entire software delivery chain by attesting that yes, the changes that have been made don't show any regression, and that often comes with a lot of data analysis performed, lot of assertions analyzed, and lot of test cases combined run together to make that judgment. So with AI, the the pattern recognition really helps a lot in scrapping the logs, scrapping the files the right way, writing appropriate parsers, and then also uh, backing it with risk-based test prioritizations, and also helping reduce the noise of test environment, which I mentioned earlier, which are the testnet environment flakiness, and it also helps to remove the weak signals. So these are definitely the strong capabilities of AI. But what AI does not bring is the human judgment, the human side of decision making and thinking about risk, wearing the customer hat the right way. So where we really can inject as a QA with help of AI is to accept or reject the risk that is involved as the final outcome of the testing strategies, and the risk mitigation that has been done throughout the journey. So as a QA engineer, I have always noted that there's a lot more to the job than just understanding the business requirement, automating it, and delivering it. You have to work with stakeholders consistently to understand the fast changing requirements. You have to uh, balance out a lot of risk mitigation capabilities in terms of configuration setups that are being pushed out, and there is a certain level of accountability there which AI cannot provide. And humans are also needed to create truth beyond the patterns that AI brings to it. So at the end, the AI models can detect anomalies, but the risk decisions can never be taken without human judgment, especially in a compliant environment where when you are deploying software on a platform which needs to remain compliant to make sure the users of the platform remain compliant uh, as a result. So definitely AI has its benefits, but it has its critical limitations also. So I wouldn't worry about AI taking away the jobs, but I definitely worry AI not being used the right way to attest the quality of the software, which, in my opinion, QA can leverage AI and use it for a proper risk based decision. So, that said, now we shall talk about the governance framework, which I believe I already tried to cover that. In modern day, if any platform is serving any financial customer data, it needs to remain compliant. And you know, from a governance standpoint, a lot of time we have observed that the traditional metrics of QA, as I mentioned earlier, they don't directly map with the risk signals. So by traditional metrics, what I meant is something on the right side of the slide. You will see how many tests were executed, what was the level of coverage, how many defects were detected or closed, and then what is the pass rate of them. But what does it tell about the risk to us? So we definitely need a better way of using AI with governance frameworks for the QA testing and reporting to indicate a level of risk signals where what was untested, what is low confident output as the result of the testing, and which areas we are highly confident. This basically supports everybody to create a software delivery environment with a more digital trust, where we can always say that yes, we know what we are changing, we understand what the impact is. So as a result of this, what is the functional requirement that is met, and what are the non-functional requirement that there is no risk that is going to be exploited as a result of the delivery of this change to our production environment. And then suddenly when you start thinking in this way, there is a shift in paradigm of QA engineers where they are also slowly becoming the risk intelligence for the project where they are working in. Meaning, we can always have the testing completed, assurance provided, but what more can we do in our software delivery process, where we can say that hey, we do have some risk intelligence scores where we feel that yes, these changes are high confidence, and let's go and proceed with deploying this software. And so if connecting back to our first example where I had to stand and block the deployment of release, I also strongly feel that across industry, QA should be used as a deployment authority, as the government governance function. So the release decisions are the governance control that secure our customer from being impacted by any potential bug or risk that is created as a result of software change. So if we have a well governed organization, it should assign authority based on independence, judgment, and accountability. And with that said, if QA is fundamentally aligned into organization in ways where it can satisfy different orgs mapped together for with the focus of governance control, where the risk mitigation is aligned well and mapped well with the testing strategy, it adds more value with the help of AI, creating more uh, trusted software delivery environment, and therefore a highly trusted platform around to be maintained, or a software as a service for the customer. So all these attributes together position QA as a genuine organizational governance control, which is the key here. Where in AI world there is so much more that can be done along with the software delivery tools. We do have at the end risk intelligence improved by giving additional accountability to quality assurance people. So it shouldn't be just a project management thing to uh, provide authority for the shipping of the release, but it should be brought right at the table for quality assurance people to contribute. Similarly, it could be mapped to different roles where a lot of checklistings can be performed, and the software delivery is done in a way that people always care for the customer at the end. So QA can be a line of defense. We can come up with multiple, risk models. This is a risk model that I believe is going to be beneficial, where The first line is always product and engineering teams. The second line can be QA, security, and risk oversight. And finally, the internal audit and assurance is the third line. So we, as QA, can protect organizational trust and resilience. The implication is to map the QA testability, uh, evolve in the right order at the line of defense at every level. If the governance control are calibrated to support QA's approval, and also uh, have a complex composition of controls where it's not just QA the only area, but it could be site reliability engineering and also the product owners and business owners. And now we'll move on to the final part of the presentation for the practical implementations. So as the QA and the modern age of software delivery evolves, right? The QA skills are also evolving. So with everything that I have proposed, how it feels like to be a responsible QA, to be a release authority, it also comes with the responsibility of being skilled and upskilling yourself on how to be more governance focused. So, you know, of course, we need to be more skilled in terms of our capability for governance, which means we need to grasp what are the control theories, what are the control criterias. And from traditional QA focus, we need to move to more emerging governance skills, which are like more system thinking, more risk literacy, and more governance awareness for the strategic testing design, where together with AI, we always focus on delivering software which is more of a trusted solution in the digital world. So this is something that I strongly feel that how QA is seen in a risky structure. Like you would see on the left, the risk structure where there is a VP of engineering, there is a dev team, and then there's a QA team. And that is functional, but it is not as effective from risk intelligence standpoint. So the better structure could be a chief technology officer having a governance mandate with QA and risk, and then the engineering team where the delivery pipeline is working cross organizationally and not just as a delivery team organization. And also this impacts the multinational enterprises, where when we deliver software, we need to keep in mind what are the compliance control mechanisms that are impacting the platform. So there are so many compliance, HIPAA, there is PCI, and every modern society is coming up with their own frameworks, which we need to have a proper judgment and make sure that we design a secure software which are privacy focused for the end user at the end of the day. So the key takeaways from this presentation is QA has evolved from testing to governing changes, and that is the right direction for the industry to proceed with. AI does strengthen the risk signaling, but it can never take the decisions away from the human judgment. And then finally, the reporting of risk and metrics relationship. We need to make sure that the metrics are not just the execution focused, but they are more product and deployment risk focused. And finally, the organizational structure that we discussed in the previous slide. So that definitely contributes in speed, accountability, and risk awareness, which supports quality assurance role to strengthen its capability and effectiveness in modern day with use of AI. And the final slide is the re- uh, recursion that I said that QA is an operational expression of digital trust. So we should be very well aligned with what is the governance here, what is the risk here, and what are the uh, uh, you know decision making steps involved that helps the reliability of QA to remain effective for the software delivery. Yeah, that said, I'm all done with my presentation, open for questions.
Thanks, Yogesh. We have four questions in the chat. So the first question is who in your organization has the authority to say we are not shipping today, and do they feel safe using it?
That's a great question. So there is empowerment given to QA engineering to raise the voice. The final decision is no one person, but it's a combination of people. It is the business owner, the product owner, and also the quality engineering is a part of it as of today. So it's a collective decision and not a single person decision. But eventually, it's up to the business owner.
Awesome. Thanks, Yogesh. The second question is what would it take to give your QA function a genuine seat at the governance table?
It takes, I would say, as of today, it would mean moving mountains because traditional software development, the stigma has not left the industry where quality engineering is still tied up with the delivery teams. And as I propose, the structure shouldn't where should be such that the risk and QA role should report as a org function and then work with different delivery teams together. So that's where I think a lot of effort needs to be done. It's a fundamental first principle shock, pretty much.
Awesome. We have one last question. Does your QA team report risk in terms of leadership can act on, or mostly in test counts and pass rates?
We are evolving and we are trying to provide more risk based feedback so that people who write software also can thoroughly understand what requirements we are trying to talk about, what is at stake, than just mapping what test has failed or what how many test success factor has happened. We try to come up with our own end to end story of the impact of the bug to bring more light to the uh, delivery team and specify how the project risk is at stake there. So we are constantly improving on it. There is no one answer for each uh, bug that we figure out or misconfiguration, but we constantly look out for improvement, and we do support risk based uh, uh, metrics more than the traditional metrics.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Yogesh. That was a wonderful presentation, and thanks for answering the questions. Participants, thank you very much for your participation. Please reach out to Yogesh if you have any additional questions. We are at time, so I have to cut down on some of the questions. And please take a minute or two to provide the feedback on this session. So it would greatly help both the test formation as well as our speaker, Yogesh, if there is any opportunity for improvement.